Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about privilege and opportunity today. We're going to be talking about what it is, our personal interpretation of it, what it looks like in today's society, and how we can leverage it. So join us on our unscripted conversation.
All right, let's get into it. Let's unwind these lines. Let's start off with, for one, defining what is privilege, what is opportunity, because I think that it can mean a multitude of things. And I know that there's a definition for it, but I think that you can take those two words and you can apply it in so many different ways. So what's the definition of it?
All right, my handy dandy cell phone here. So Google, and in combination with dictionary.com and Webster.com, Webster Dictionary, defines privilege as a right or a liberty granted as a favor or benefit, especially to some and not to others. That's privilege. A right or liberty granted as a favor or benefit, especially to some and not to others.
Okay.
Opportunity is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. So opportunity, a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the definitions? Is that what you thought privilege and opportunity meant? What were your, before we read the dictionary version of it?
Yeah.
Or the Google version of it, what did you think privilege meant?
And so when I think of privilege, it's almost like you have an advantage that I don't have because you have privilege. Mm-hmm. What about you? What do you think? What were your first thoughts of privilege?
Yeah, I kind of, I think in the context where we're at now in terms of society and whatnot, and some, things going on in terms of different class and different race, I agree that the initial thought that came to my mind was, white privilege or black privilege or brown privilege, color privilege, light skin privilege versus dark skin privilege.
And straight hair versus, kinky coily hair, and
Just kind of like, but I guess when you think about it, that's kind of what the definition kind of articulates, right? Yeah. A right or a liberty granted as a favor or a benefit, especially to some and not to others. So when we talk about white privilege, maybe that might be, what they can do versus what we can't do.
Right.
Meaning black versus white or brown versus white.
Right.
Or male privilege, right?
Yeah.
What a man can do versus what a woman can do.
Right.
Or however you define yourself. So
exactly.
That's the initial thought I had. But then when we were thinking about the topic, what to talk about, I started thinking about, privilege a little bit more deeper. Let's get past that, the surface kind of privileges and, the outwardly privilege that we can see based off our skin color, based off of our, gender and not racial, but
classism and so forth, money,
I thought, inherent privileges, like just where you were born, how you carry yourself, your background, not just your color, but how that background also provides a bit of privilege. So I started thinking about that.
Very true. I mean, because when we travel and we've gone to other countries and so forth, that may be third world countries or whatnot, and you get there and you see the way in which they live and how they're surviving and how their economy runs, or just the day-to-day living, and it's sort of like this culture shock. But also you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can live in in a place like this. I don't know if I can live in a country like this, in a society like this. And then you think about all the things that you do have that you may take for granted, and just the privilege to have running water, or being able to actually have a roof over your head or tissue, and things like that. Those are all things that we are privileged to have.
Right.
The right to have those things, where some places and some people are not.
True.
So that's interesting.
When we just thinking about it, you look very beautiful today.
Oh, thanks.
But speaking of privilege, maybe in some cultures or some countries, you wouldn't be able to wear that. That would be considered revealing. Yeah. Based off of cultural norms. So certain rights and liberties that a man might have versus a woman, they would think this is this is what you call scandalous. You know, you're showing your shoulders or your neck or whatever that they might determine as, you know, scandalous. So you may not have the privilege to, you know, go out walking looking like that in a certain culture or country. So privilege can be like very broad and narrow depending on where you are. So so my thought on privilege is that we have privileges. We just need to recognize what those privileges are. You know, what are your thoughts on opportunity?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Like, you know, I have the opportunity to do this, or do I have everything that I need in order for me to accomplish or do something? I don't know. I think it would go more along with what the definition is, but of course you can expand upon that. So
you want to hear the definition?
Yeah, let's hear it again. Let me just make sure that I understand it again.
A set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something.
A set of circumstances. When I think of a set of circumstances, I feel like there's certain things that have to happen that go, you know, in line with each other, or one happening after another for you to be able to act upon and do something with that.
Okay. So you kind of said some of that though, right? When you said tools and resources, you know, that you can use to, you know, jump on an opportunity, or to, you know, it provides the opportunity to leverage those tools or whatnot. So I agree with you. I mean, I think opportunity, in addition to the definition, I think it's recognizing that which you can use to your benefit. Okay.
Recognizing what?
Whatever that is.
Okay.
Recognizing, to your point, tools that you can use to your benefit. Recognizing resources that you can use to your benefit. You know, tools, things that you can use, versus resources, things that you're aware of or that you can leverage. Or just kind of, I think opportunity and privilege is really intertwined in that, you know, recognizing that you have privilege and that creates opportunities for you. Being a man at its base, I know that there's more men, quote unquote, in control of certain kind of institutions, whether it's a bank, whether it's education, whether it's opportunity to use finances or whatnot. So I can go into a circle of men and I have a certain kind of floor, opportunity to say, hey, man to man, I need help with this, or can you educate me on this? You know, that might be more difficult for a woman. So I have a privilege that I can utilize to bring me to another level. You know, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm just thinking that if I don't have the privilege, then does that decrease my opportunities? If I don't have the privileges that you have as a man to propel, to excel, and so forth, those opportunities that may be presented to you will not necessarily be presented to me because I don't have the same privileges as you.
You showing a little bit of a little squint in your eyes, like is a
not you personally.
I'm not trying to be personal right here, but
generalizing.
We still gonna be cool after this video, right?
I mean, it depends on how deep you going here. No, I don't know. We may not talk for it.
Yeah, no,
But to that point, I'm just saying that makes me just think of the fact that even in the 21st century, we are still fighting for privileges that we feel, according to the definition, should be our right to have anyway. And so I'm fighting for these privileges, but I guess I'm trying to create opportunities in that spectrum as well, so that we can take full advantage of the privilege that we should have, if that makes sense. But
yeah, I mean, so to your earlier comment, I do to an extent agree. Right? Okay. I feel like the more privilege you have, theoretically, the more opportunities you would have at your disposal. Not at your disposal, but to take advantage of. So I do believe that. I do agree that more privileges may theoretically bring about more opportunities. And that's why it's such a concern, I think, in society. But, I think I say that not to just, I say to say it to show and create that awareness, but also to say that I think regardless of your privilege, not regardless of your privilege, I feel that we all are privileged to an extent, right? I think we all have our inherent privileges. We just have to recognize it and use it to our advantage. And
but that I can't. So my question is, if I have to make it specific to certain areas of privilege, where we're listing, like, it depends on the context of what you're talking about. We talk about privilege, it's racism, sexism, classism, and so forth. And you're saying that, okay, we have this, privilege, we all have this privilege, and then it's what we do with it. But at the same time, let's take that and let's be specific to racism, to colorism. If you are Caucasian, if you're white, and you're allowed to, you have white privilege, which allows you to do things that maybe necessarily someone as ourselves who are Black are unable to do, then I don't have that same right as them. Well, I technically should have the same right as them, but there are different things that are put in place that sort of removes my right to do and act in the same manner in which they would. For example, during the economic crisis that we are in right now, we have seen protests happening. Protest is not something that's new. It's something that's very familiar that people do all the time throughout history, different events and so forth. People protest for various reasons. But with this COVID-19 coronavirus, there was protesting that was happening at the steps of Congress and whatever the case may be, wherever they were. And they had assault rifles.
State Senate.
At the state Senate, yes.
State capitals.
State capitol buildings. Yeah, they were at the state capitals in the front of them, and they were protesting. And they had assault rifles and so forth out there, basically saying that we have a privilege, we have a right to go outside and to not listen to the government's recommendations and so forth. It's our right to go out and make the decision for us. Had that been one of us, out there on those steps of state capitol, with assault rifles, and what time would it have been as peaceful as it had been that we would have been up there? It would have looked like a Malcolm X scene, Black Panther scene, and it would have been riots. So how do we get around that, where I have the same right to go out there and bear arms and to protest, but you won't allow me because of the color of my skin? How do we get around things like that, even though we all have this privilege within us?
Yeah, I think that's deep.
Okay.
And we certainly should, I think, explore it. Whether that means another video or not. But yes, I think you have the privilege of the right to bear arms. That's a right in the United States of America.
Right.
Right. So you can exercise that right or privilege. That right. Black or white, you have that right.
Okay.
But the privilege, I think, comes in is when one group can do it in a very brazen and very outwardly manner than another.
Got it.
So we both have the right.
Yeah. But my privilege has been taken away to exercise that right.
Not necessarily. I don't think it's been taken away. It's way more difficult for in terms of, I think, the reaction to that privilege, exercising that privilege.
Okay.
Is worse for people of color.
Got it.
So I guess what I'm just trying to say is that we both have the right to bear arms, black, white, brown, whatever, right? And we can exercise that right. I think privilege comes in is when one can do it in any kind of capacity that they want to, where the others have to be cognizant of it and be more strategic in how they go ahead and do it because of the reaction to you using that privilege.
Got it. Right.
So a privilege to be short, is the privilege outwardly is less than those of that. Those are like in a white or dominant culture or class or race. But I guess, and this is so difficult. It's a difficult difficult topic to kind of dissect. But two things. There were people of color that did go to their capitals or to their state buildings with arms. Black Panthers have done it in the past. People ain't like it, but also in response to what happened, like say in Michigan or the other states where white folks, majority white folks went with assault rifles and guns and went into the Capitol and stuff like that. I believe there was a state representative who still went ahead and said we're going to continue lockdown, and I believe there was a state representative or state official that was protected by people of color and black people who had assault rifles as well, and that were on the state government's landmarks and whatnot. So it did happen. I don't know if it's getting as much publicity as the white folks that did it, but it did happen. So the privilege is still there, whether it's as large as the others. I personally don't think so, but
and obviously with that, it's still the point that you can recognize that some people have more privilege than others, to where you have to be more protective of this person or this group of people than others, because you recognize the fact that it is not something that everyone has equally, that they can all just apply to everything. Right. That some will, in the definition of the word, some will be allowed more than other groups. So.
And also get taken away. You know what I mean? So I think we we have to be very careful in terms of what these privileges are, locally, statewide, country-wise, culture-wise, race-wise, class-wise, because it can be taken away. Correct. Maybe not just by the government, but by the the other that does not have it, right? So
how? In what way? I mean, no, I understand that privileges can be taken away. For instance...
Sound like you're like, challenge.
No. I'm just thinking, because when I think about privileges being taken away, one of the first areas that I think about are those who have gone to prison, those who have gone to jail, who now are convicted felons and so forth. But once they get out, they no longer have all the same privileges that they would have prior to that conviction. So that to me makes me think of, okay, this is where your privilege can be taken away. Just in case people were wondering, how. Yeah. Like I said, how.
No, that's a great example of how privilege get, and that's not one that I thought of, but yes, you can, your right to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a right that's taken away from you. You no longer have that privilege because you're a felon. Right. And you serve time. Now that privilege may have been given back through different states that are whatnot that are saying, no, you should have a second chance because you did something wrong in the past should not bar you from your or block your right or your liberties. And so you're now free and you've done your time. Yeah. Here's the privilege or that right back or that liberty back. One of the things I did want to talk about in these current events right now is specifically to the COVID-19, right? We're talking a little bit about privilege right now. And I want to also get to the opportunity side as well.
And that goes right into opportunity, because when you see what privileges you do or don't have, then that hopefully opens up opportunities in which you can improve, or opportunities on what you need to look into, what opportunities you can help create, that where you see that there's a gap or that there's an area that we need to focus a little more on, because obviously we didn't realize that this was a problem until we saw that it was a problem. Yeah. So sometimes privileges can open up that gateway to create opportunities, such as you're saying now, the issues that we're facing with COVID-19.
Yeah. I mean, from just the point where you just talk about on twofolds, right? Privileges may have been reduced or taken away by the government in the United States and some other countries as well. Lockdown, shelter in place. Yeah. You don't have the right to be out if you're non-essential or whatnot, unless there's these specific scenarios that allow that.
Yeah.
You know, are they using it to like a curfew where like they're actually watching you and wanting you to do it? Probably not as that extreme, at least currently.
Here in U.S.
Yeah,
right.
at least currently in the U.S. that I'm aware of. But you know, they can take that privilege away. But on the other side, that lets you recognize that you did have these liberties and rights, and now it's kind of limiting or taken away. So folks could be reacting to something that, hey, you're taking away my liberties, you're taking away my right to go out and to go to a bar or to go to you know, meet in social gatherings and see my family. That's my right. So they want to take that back. So that's one thing. The other thing is opportunities. I think, you know, one of the things I really think like it would be good to kind of talk about is how we are leveraging opportunities in this pandemic situation right now.
Yeah.
You know, you have folks have more time, whether that's through unemployment or whether that's working from home or whether that's just you just need to shelter in place.
Yeah.
But you have more time with yourself.
Yeah.
For yourself, with family. You have more time to think, more time to sleep, more time to stress as well, to fear. So there's more time there, but how are we leveraging that opportunity?
Yeah.
Because we might think that's a reduction in privilege, but privilege and opportunity, they work together, or you can think of them, if you think of them in conversely, you could say, well, they reduce my liberties or my rights to do certain things. Maybe I have the opportunity to do what I wanted to do here. And that's a privilege maybe we didn't know we truly had, to say, you know what, I'm going to take time away from work, or whether it's forcibly or you took the time to quit or whatever it is, but you now can use your most valuable asset, which is time and health, if you have it, and to do something with it, right? Maybe that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity that, you know, are we really using it?
So I think that it depends on how you look at the situation to determine how you're going to leverage it. Because some people can say, yes, I've been quarantining and I'm working from home, but I feel like I have less time. And that, you know, in the sense that being home is a little more demanding, especially for those who have families and so forth, who take on many different roles and then have to try to balance everything with a house full of people to an extent. And then whatever else is going on. I think I mentioned before that since I've been quarantined, I've been having a hard time staying on schedule. I'm having a hard time waking up at a decent hour so that I can actually, you know, harp on opportunities. I can actually take advantage of my time, you know, that I have home to accomplish, you know, whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish, or just set out to do these new things. Because technically when you are getting up every day, you have to go out, you're going into the office or you're hitting the road wherever it is, and you have all these dreams and ambition and goals that you want to do, and you're like, if only I had more time, and then you feel like you can't balance doing that and whatever it is that you want to do to be successful, right? Take on this entrepreneurship, this new role. You just feel like, if only I can get a break from work, if only I can, you know, take some time away. But then here we are where
you got that break.
You got that break. You know, you may have to work from home for those who are working from home, but for those who are not, you got that break. But then what are you doing with it? So it really comes down to, I think, the person as one, and then two, how they're looking at the situation. Because you to internally motivate yourself, I feel like is one of the hardest things to do.
It's true. I agree. I'll challenge that though.
Okay.
You know, it does depend on the person. I agree. Wholeheartedly agree with that, actually. But the part that I would challenge though is that regardless of how you got to that extra time that you've always wanted, it's an opportunity. At the end of the day, it's an opportunity. How you manage that time is how you will leverage that opportunity. Right. I believe that's just my thoughts.
I agree with you.
So even if, let's say, you know, you now can work from home, or you got let go or furloughed or whatnot, hopefully, you do have unemployment benefits that can help you through this time. My heart goes out to folks that are struggling at this time.
Right.
But let's say on the positive side, because I think I personally think there's a silver lining in any kind of situation and circumstances, depending on what your mindset is. So it's that person's mindset, how I'm going to use this additional time to create an opportunity for me, for my family, or to people I care about.
Yeah.
Right? So you got let go, or you're working from home. Now you don't have that commute that you have to consider going into work if you used to go into work.
Yeah.
Even if you still have to work from home, you can still organize your time and manage your time to where that hour that you would have spent or half an hour you would have spent to commute into work and back home, that could be something you can be doing with that time. You can be learning something new.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly with organization and time management. Yeah. 2 key components there that will help propel you.
And those are the tools
exactly.
to leverage that you talked about. We have, I'm sorry, not the tools, that's the resource. To me, it's a resource. It's like your time is a resource and it's a gift. So how you utilize that resource can propel you to where you need to be or where you want to be, that is.
Yeah.
There's always going to be blocks. There's always going to be issues with limiting of privileges or whatnot, access to certain things.
Yeah, right.
But how are you using the current privileges or rights and liberties and resources and time to harness that opportunity?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think as positive as I can. So if I have a little bit more time, even if it's not a lot, you have kids at home, so now you have work from home or no work at all, but you have multiple kids. When they go to bed, are you going to bed as well? If you're up and you're scrolling through YouTube and you're scrolling through Facebook or they're watching this video, but what are you utilizing? How are you utilizing that time?
You're squandering it. And that's the last thing that you want to happen when you get out of this, when they say, all right, guys, we're fully opening up everything.
Come on.
Everybody go back. And you look back and you say, oh my gosh, I was home for 2-3 months. I squandered that opportunity, that time, and I did nothing with it. And to go, along with that, you can have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
But if you don't take the time to actually set up what it is that you need to utilize that time or to be efficient with your time, then it still wouldn't matter.
Right.
Which is why I say that it also comes down to the individual and how, motivated they are, how much they really want it to determine, are they going to take advantage of the time and create the opportunities and so forth.
But let's say, if we were going to talk about that, a poor man's time is still equivalent to a rich man's time. You still have 24 hours within that day.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's a privilege.
Yeah.
That you cannot limit unless you self-impose that limit on yourself, right? Your time is the most valuable asset that you have. So let's say a poor man's, not to say poor meaning just financial, but let's just assume finance, right? A poor man's time is the same as a rich man's time. What is the difference in the time that this poor man versus this rich man have? It's the use of it, the management of it. What is they dedicating every single minute to and every single hour to?
Yeah.
A rich man might say, I'm waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm already reading journals, I'm reading publications to build my insights in a certain industry or whatnot, so that by the time I get to work, if I have a work or if I own a business, I have that much more knowledge and I didn't squander that hour that I had scrolling through social media.
Yeah.
If you're a professional, right? My thought is, if you're a professional and you want to move up in your career, what time are you doing now to use the information that are free to everyone?
Yeah.
Right? Because in a democratized, in terms of, information is democratized and free for everyone right now. But just because something's free doesn't mean it's being used. So are you setting yourself up to be that much more when it knocks on the door, are you answering it because you're prepared to answer it? I think about if, and not just in work, let's say spiritual, if you always wanted the time to be more closer to whomever that you believe in, whatever being you believe in, are you using this time to read that Bible, that Torah, that Quran? Mm-hmm. Are you becoming closer to that being, or to that religion, to that faith, to that spirituality? Or are you saying, I'm tired and I'm just going to go to sleep, or I'm going to wake up, or what's this person doing?
Yeah.
How are we using the time and our opportunities?
Yeah. And so I think one thing that you can do is to time block. And sometimes when you actually put things down on paper and you actually see it, then it helps you, internalize it, and maybe you process it a little differently. But time blocking, I think, is really big. And you say to yourself, if I time block and I put in how am I going to use every minute or every hour of the day to ensure that I'm using it efficiently, then you can really see, for one, where you have wasted time, and then where you can have more opportunity to fit in the things that you want to do. And I like how you brought up, it's not just about taking this situation with COVID-19 and thinking about opportunities where you can be successful. That's great. That's something that you want to do. People are out making masks and so forth. What is it that, when we go through situations like this, the more millionaires are born or created, or whatever the case may be. But the fact that taking this to also do self-care. When you were going to work and you were stressed out and all these things, you needed to take a step back. Well, now you have the opportunity to take a step back and to really figure out who you are and what is it that you want to do, and heal yourself and go into that process of healing and so forth. So there's many different opportunities and many different things that you can do at a time like this that doesn't necessarily have to be monetary, as you were saying. And so we're just realizing goal setting. What is it that I want? What is it that I want to accomplish? What are the tools and resources that I have? What is the research that I need to do? And how do I then get there? And how do I break it up into manageable things so that I'm not overwhelmed, and then continue to grow and expand off of that? And then before you know it, something has been born and rebirthed, and then there you go.
I like it. You're that was great. You gave me so much inspiration. That was good. No, it's true.
No, yeah.
I think, yes. How are you guys reinventing yourself right now during this crisis?
Yeah.
If you have the luxury of more time to yourselves or to your family, how are you using that time? Are you spending more time with your child? If you have a child or a family, are you being present in the moment? And are you using that for self-care, reflection, for spirituality growth? Are you educating yourself so that you're prepared when the economy does start back up, whenever it does, or if you're back at work? Yeah. Are you going to be that much more in tune with whatever industry you're in? Are you reading more? Are you living more? Not just surviving, but are you living more? Because we have the opportunity now. Yeah. We're in a bad situation right now, but there's always good on the other side if you are willing to capitalize and leverage the opportunities that you have. So being aware of the privilege that you have, leveraging that to jump on opportunities that you see. Yeah. And then to Sheena's point too is, are you goal setting? And it doesn't have to be just about your career and money. Are you goal setting? How am I going to know myself more? How am I going to grow closer to God if I believe in a God? Yeah. Right? Yeah. How am I going to be a better person, husband, wife, caregiver, whatever it may be? We have the opportunity to do that. And it's up to you and me and us to leverage that.
And to just sort of wrap it up, or to not necessarily make it full circle, because I think you did a great job of tying it all in and bringing it together. Just also keep in mind that you will always have, or there will always be, time to do whatever it is that you want. But it depends on you as to what you find to be important to do with that time. So the time is always, we always find the time to play around and scroll and so forth and do whatever the things are that may bring us pleasure. But we always say we don't have enough time to do the things that we need to put some hard work into. So the time, you will always have it. It's just what you choose to do with it.
I think is a good start of a positive conversation and mindset.
Yeah.
Coming off of fear. If you didn't watch the fear video, there's going to be a little button showing up somewhere on the screen. You could click it and you'll be able to see the first episode where we talked about fear. This is the positive side. Everything that you always wanted in life or wanted to be successful on is on the other side of fear. So take that leap, recognize your privilege, and recognize opportunities, and harness it and grow within it and use it to your betterment. And I would challenge you to also use your opportunities and or privilege to help others who are not as privileged. I think that's important, that we give each other opportunities as well.
I agree.
That's what makes us a community.
So we would love to hear your thoughts in regards to what are some privileges or opportunities that you may have or that you may be currently facing. Definitely make sure that you leave some comments for us below in the description box so that we can read, to sort of get different perspectives on what other people are dealing with or how they feel privilege and opportunities, what it means to them. Please, if you like what we have discussed today, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like it, give us a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more episodes from us.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
All right. Until next time.
Later.